This episode is brought to you by Hostfully. Using Hostfully, you can create a free digital guidebook for your listing so that you can save time creating a professional experience for every guest that comes and visits your spot. Learn more at hostfully.com.
Welcome to Get Paid for Your Pad, the definitive show on Airbnb hosting, featuring the best advice on how to maximize profits from your Airbnb listing, as well as real-life experiences from Airbnb hosts all over the world. Welcome.
Get paid for your pad. Get paid for your pad. Get paid for your pad.
What's up, everybody? Episode 296, almost at 300 of Get Paid for Your Pad. This is Jasper, your host, and today I am here with my good friend Eric Moeller, who, of course, you probably know him because he's been on the podcast before, and we have some really exciting stuff that we want to be talking about today. So, Eric, welcome to the show.
What's up, man? Thank you for having me back, man. Excited for it.
Absolutely. And I am actually going to San Diego very soon. And I will be spending a couple of weeks with you there in San Diego because we're really working on some really cool stuff. And that's what we're going to be talking about to you on this podcast. Let's first give people an introduction on like what we're doing and what we've been doing in the last couple months. Also with STR Legends, the Mastermind that we did in Puerto Rico in June for large short-term rental operators. So, Eric, what's your thoughts on like what we're putting together here?
Yeah, it's exciting, man. It's obviously we've been spending quite a bit of time ever since Puerto Rico, just kind of collecting our thoughts on what we learned at that event. And for the ones who are listening that aren't familiar with it, the event that we held was in Puerto Rico back in July, I believe it was, and we had over 20 of the top short-term rental operators around the world from 10 different countries, I believe, that flew in, right? So from that was 8 months ago when you and I decided to put that event together as far as like the idea of it. And then it came to fruition. And I just remember you and I just being completely shocked and just so grateful for the outcome of that. Right. But we also connected on how much we learned from surrounding ourselves with those top operators. Booking.com was there. David Krause was there. It was incredible. Right. It was just such a weekend full of education that, as soon as we left, decided to put together a 3-part series, essentially, of what we learned from that event and kind of what we learned as a collective of all successful hosts, including our business, what we had to go through to build these businesses and then automate it and then live the lifestyle that we're living now based off of short-term rentals and Airbnb. So, yeah, to kind of sum all that up, I feel like it's a collective of clarity around what successful hosts are doing to build and grow these companies, either part-time or full-time. So I'm pretty excited about it, man. It's going to be a 3-part series that you and I dive pretty deep into, and I'm excited for you to come out to San Diego as well to do this side by side. I think that's going to be incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm super excited about it too. And I think when we were in Puerto Rico after the STR Legends event, I think what I kind of realized was that my experience since 2012 hosting on Airbnb, helping other people host, and my whole journey of having my apartment in Amsterdam, and after that like buying multiple properties around the world in developing countries. And that your experience had been quite different, actually, right? You really focused on like managing other people's units. And I think what we realized was that our knowledge and our skills and what we're really good at is quite complementary. Like the way that you think about things and the way that I think about things is actually like oftentimes very different. And I think we both kind of realized that the synergy of putting your experiences and my experiences together and looking at each other, like how we do things differently as well, combine that with everything that we learned from all these amazing operators that we met at STR Legends. And like you said, it was as much or even more of a learning experience for us. It was just incredible to have 20 people that have run these these massive businesses. I mean, there was just so much expertise in that room. It was really crazy. And you know, like me and Eric, we really sat down and we were thinking like, okay, how can we put our knowledge and our experience together, add all the knowledge from what we learned at the event, and how can we use that to, you know, to really provide value to our audiences, to the people that we're trying to help, because we really believe that there's, you know, a lot is possible. And I think if you look at all the people that came to our Legends event, what those people have made possible, and the lives that they've designed, the lifestyle that they have, you know, it's incredible. And, you know, it's something that I feel really passionate about, is helping people really change their life and create a different lifestyle for themselves. And I think that's the first thing that made me so passionate and excited about Airbnb in the first place. And not just Airbnb, but the whole sharing economy, is that now you don't have to have like $100,000 to invest in a business and take massive risks, or even get bank loans to start a company, right? The emergence of the micropreneur, as they call it, right? The entrepreneur who uses like sharing economy platforms to essentially create a different life for themselves. That's really the beauty of the sharing economy. And through this podcast, I've had, you know, the privilege of talking to so many people who were about to lose their home, you know, people that were using the Airbnb income to pay for their medical bills. I mean, there's been so many amazing stories on this podcast that has really affected lives. And I think at the end of the day, like that's what really matters the most. That's what I am the most passionate about. And I know you are as well, Eric. Mm-hmm. You know, to really be able to have a positive impact on somebody's life. And you and me coming together and doing this 3-part masterclass, I think this is really like kind of taking it to the next level in terms of what we're trying to bring to the world.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm so excited about it too, because I know together we can offer more than I can by myself, essentially.
Right. Yeah. I mean, well said, man. I mean, I think our beginnings in business, in the short-term rental business, were definitely a little bit different. But what I realized, especially at Legends, being surrounded by companies that are running 50, 100, 200 properties, and literally from all around the world, and then understanding your business, and of course knowing what I went through in my business, I realized like everyone has their own unique experience and journey through creating these businesses, but everyone has the same type of buckets that they focus on, right, within their company. And it blew my mind that, you know, a company down in South Africa can relate with a company in the Dominican Republic and Canada and potentially put deals together and learn from each other, right? And they all were speaking the same language. So I think it's exciting. And, you know, for everyone who's listening to this, you know, what we're doing with this 3-part masterclass is really just kind of sharing and breaking those buckets down from what we learned in our individual businesses that helped us grow and really create essentially the lifestyle that we're living now. And then also what we learned that is making these other operators successful in their path, regardless where they are in the world. So yeah, man, I'm pretty excited about it. I think I think we're going to drop some value bombs on your listeners here. And I'm just excited about jumping into it and then watching who actually takes this information and puts it to work and get some results from it.
Awesome. So let's dive a little bit deeper in these 3 pillars that we've kind of recognized, right? Because we kind of sat down and we felt like, okay, well, why are the legends so successful? Like, what are the different things that they are doing? What are the things that I do? What are the things that you do? And what's the common denominator? And how can we put this into a structure that kind of makes sense? And so the 3 pillars that we came up with was, first, there's the business side. There's the hospitality or the experience side, and then there's the mindset. And that's something that I especially realized at STR Legends. I started realizing, you know, it's not a coincidence that, you know, you and me have both been to Tony Robbins events. You know, we've invested a lot of money in personal growth, in self-improvement, because it takes a different mindset to be an entrepreneur. Like, it's a different way of thinking than when you're working a 9 to 5. Have you actually ever worked a 9 to 5?
For a very short time, I was a union carpenter as I was building my real estate business. So I had a very short experience of that. But no, I think you could relate with that more than I can.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the okay. We're going a little backward here, but this is the third pillar, right? This is the mindset that is. I think looking at other entrepreneurs, and not just in the Airbnb and the short-term rental space, but I think there's definitely a different way of thinking amongst entrepreneurs than people that work a 9 to 5, and I kind of understand why that is, because I did a 9 to 5 for 6 years. I was in that corporate world. And the way I would describe it is this. When I was still working my corporate job, I just knew that every Monday to Friday at 8 a.m., I go to my office, I do the things that are expected of me, and then I go home. And if I do that Monday through Friday, then that structure, my life is kind of in order. Like I know I'm going to get that paycheck at the end of the month. As long as my boss is happy with the work that I'm doing, and I think at least in my company, I always felt like you kind of really have to screw up in order to get fired. I always felt like if you're giving it like 60-70%, then you're probably good. And that's I've always had this competitive mindset of like, I always kind of want to get the maximum, the best results out of everything I do. And I guess that's why I wasn't trading. But anyway, that you have such a structure in your life that kind of makes it a little bit easier, I felt, in terms of like the mindset that you need. But as soon as I quit my job, like I experienced a lot more stress, a lot more uncertainty. Suddenly you have all these different options, like, because there's a million things you could be doing. Nobody is telling you what to do, right? Nobody's telling you like, oh, you just need to do X, Y, Z. And so how do you keep yourself productive? But also, how do you keep yourself sane? How do you, with all these options and these challenges, and especially in the beginning, like, when the first couple of things I tried as an entrepreneur, like it didn't really work out. And so that gave me quite a lot of stress. And so from my perspective, like I really had to develop myself. I really realized that the person that I was when I quit my job was not the person that was going to be really successful at business or entrepreneurship. I realized that pretty quickly. And so I understood that I had to change. And I've invested a lot of money in myself. I invested more money in myself than in my business, which is actually something that that's one of the common denominators that I also see among successful entrepreneurs, is that they invest a lot of money in themselves, in their own personal growth. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, mindset is everything. And that's why I think you and I connect deeper on this business than just the business and the money side. It's prior to Legends, I went from 5 days in Amsterdam at a Tony Robbins event, right? And I'm constantly immersing myself in this. And that's what I realized at Legends. I was like, oh, okay, Jasper's really on that level as well, and invest quite a bit of money into the mindset side of it. And that's, probably a big part of why you're successful at what you do. But then also surrounding ourselves with all these top operators, everybody has the same mentality of, hey, I need to, regardless of where I'm at in business, I need to work on myself to grow, right? And I got to think like a CEO. I got to think like the person I want to become in business. I got to be in that mindset now to become that person. Right. And everybody had that mindset. And it came down to the biggest thing that I noticed was I teach a lot of startup companies in this space with the co-host mastery, where we help people grow their business from zero. And you notice that those individuals have completely different mindset than somebody who's running 15 units or 25 units or 100 or 200 units. And like the biggest complaint that we get from beginners, it's like, oh, is the market too saturated? There's too many listings in my city. Whatever that is, they look at competition as a bad thing, where these bigger operators are excited for more and more listings to come onto the market. And it's because it drives them to be better operators, better, focusing more on the hospitality, on the guests, making their units better, making the experience better. So it's cool, like noticing that. And I'm like, oh man, like there's a whole community within the short-term rental industry that thinks this way, that grows this way, but no one's talking about it. No one shares these mindsets of like, what happens, what mindset do you have to be in when your city passes some strict short-term rental regulations? How do you work around that versus approaching it as a reaction? How do you respond to it? And yeah, I think it's really, I think on this part, this is, of course, like on this 3-part series that we're doing together, the business and the hospitality side, the experience side is really important. And we're going to really drive home on that. But the mindset of like, okay, if you're just getting your business going, if you have 0 to 1 properties, how do we get you in the mindset to be able to run these as the best short-term rentals in the world? Like how do you get in that mindset? So yeah, I'm excited. And I think we're doing that on day 3. So I'm excited to kick that off, because not only are we going to share what we've learned together, but I think for the people that are going to attend that event, really kind of shape what this larger collective is thinking and how they grow their businesses. So yeah, man, I'm excited about it. Really excited about it.
Yeah, you hit on a very good point, and it's something that I've seen as well. It's the limiting beliefs, right? It's not realizing that anything really is possible. And I totally understand where people are coming from, because I remember very well when I started thinking about writing a book about Airbnb, I was also I had limiting beliefs too. I was like, well, I'm not a native English speaker. Like, I'm not a writer, and I don't have a degree in journalism. You know what I mean? Like, our minds just are so good at coming up with reasons not to do something that's out of your comfort zone. And that's why most people are their biggest enemies. They're holding themselves back. Right? I was just a couple of days ago, I was talking to a friend of mine here in Barcelona who is working a job that she really, really hates. And so, she's looking at my life and she gets like inspired. And so she would come over and chat to me about, how can she change her life, right? And one funny example is like she gave me this idea. She's like, okay, well, the first thing I want to do is I want to be remote. I want to work remotely so I can travel, right? And so she found this job where she could be a remote headhunter. And so I was like, okay, that sounds great. And that's a great first step, right? Because you want to take everything step by step. And so I said, okay, let's take action and apply. And then the first thing she said was like, yeah, but I don't have a degree in HR. And so I completely understand the mindset, but at the same time, like, it can really hold you back, because who knows? Maybe they don't even care if you have a degree in HR, human resource, or not, right? You don't even know if they care about it, but because you think that you need it, you're actually not going to apply because of it, and so nothing's going to happen, right? And totally what you're saying is like I notice it too, and it's understandable. And I think on a deeper level, it's just our minds don't like us to be uncomfortable. And so when we're thinking of doing something new that we don't have experience with, that's uncertain, our mind is kind of trying to tell us like, no, don't do that. That's scary. That's dangerous. That's, we don't know what the outcome's going to be. And so I think that's a really, really important part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, it's important to tell everybody that we're not experts in this, right? We're sharing what we've learned that works for us by going to the experts, right? And investing in these experts, and then also learning from the experts of the short-term rental industry. So yeah, I think showing what learned for us, what works for us, but also works for the top 1% in this industry have grown this successful business. Like, regardless of who's going through this, if they've never managed an Airbnb before, been involved in an Airbnb, or if they have a handful now, it's like that mindset is so freaking important to grow this business, let alone any business. And let's, what do you think? Do you want to tell everybody like the dates and all that? Because I'm sure there's a few people been talking about it quite a bit. A few people on the seat of the edge of their seat to find
yeah,
out
absolutely.
about it.
Absolutely. So October 3rd is going to be the first masterclass, and it's going to be a 3-part series. You can sign up. Let's mention that as well. strprofitacademy.com. So www.str stands for short-term rental, profitacademy.com. You can sign up. It's free. It's a 3-part masterclass series, and me and Eric are essentially going to just brain dump everything that we've learned and try and do that in a format that's really understandable and inspiring and actionable. That's the most important thing as well, because no action means no result, means no progress. And so action is what it's all about. So SDRProfitAcademy.com is where you can sign up. Now let's go through these other two pillars. Because I can already tell this podcast is gonna be a long one, because there's just so much to talk about, right? But let's talk about the first pillar. So the business side of things. Like, how do you actually start a business? Like, what needs to be in place? What's the structure? What systems? Hiring a team. Like, how do you find properties that you can manage? And I feel like that's kind of like your expertise more than mine. So I'll let you take the lead on that one, Eric.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, what I realized by growing my short-term rental business and then helping other people grow their businesses, and then learning from the legends as well, is like, people have this perception, or they're buying courses or whatever it is right now that are telling them just to go get a property and put it up on Airbnb and start running it, put some digital locks in, and then automate your messages, and you have a good business, right? But what I'm learning is, like, before you even dive into the business side, you got to understand, like, your marketplace. You got to understand, what market do you really want to be in for the long term, right? And does that market support your business, right? Or are they outlawing it? So understanding, okay, what type of property do I actually want to focus on? I can't just go after every style property, because they're all individual businesses, systems, focus, all of that. So we got to, like, narrow that down. And, I think we put together a really good system to do that. But then once you get these properties, how do you put deals together? What type of deals are you putting together? And then how do you set up the property within itself to run like an individual McDonald's, right? And even though I don't eat at McDonald's, I don't even know the last time I've been at that restaurant, but I just respect the systems that they developed around that. They built a brand. They're very specific on what they serve and who they serve it to. And then regardless of where you go to their restaurants around the world, it might be a little bit of different culture in those units, but that restaurant is running very similar to any other one around the world, right? So how do we set that up and make our short-term rental units unique and have a different culture to it, but then run like a McDonald's, right? And that's all the systems, the technology, and the people that we hire to run that side of the business. So, we can buy back our time. So we can put that into things that we want to do most. And that could either be growing the business to as big as you want, or put it more towards what you and I tend to do lately, is travel and health and coaches and different experiences, right? So the business is so freaking important to set it up right. And from, coaching people over the last year, that's where I've seen a lot of people go wrong, is just kind of a bowl through China shop, right? It's just like running right through and just setting it up as they go, versus actually having a strategic plan on how they build their business. And it doesn't have to be complicated. You need some type of blueprint, some type of structure behind it. So, right. Yeah. Not to talk everybody's ear off on this, but this is what we're going to go into on day one of those 3 masterclasses on October 3rd. It's like, all right, how do we actually set this up for what we want and set it up for success? So yeah, day one.
Awesome. So that's going to be the first webinar and the first part of the free masterclass. Now, the second part is going to be all about hospitality. It's going to be about how do you create an outstanding experience for your guests so that you get great reviews and you get more and more bookings. And, the funny thing is, when I started hosting in 2012, I did not quite realize what I was getting into. And I feel like most people don't really understand what they're getting into when they're starting Airbnb. And it's kind of interesting because, this is a business, right? Now, if I were to tell you that I'm going to start a bakery, right? And you're like, okay, cool. Are there any other bakeries in your town? And I'm like, yeah, there's like 10 bakeries. And you're like, okay, well, what's your expertise in doing a bakery, running a bakery? Do you have any expertise? And I'll be like, no, I'll just figure it out. Well, along the way. You'll just be looking at me and thinking like, are you crazy? Like, don't you need to learn about what you're doing? But but still, like when I talk to people that are interested in doing Airbnb, and I talk about the book that I wrote, Get Paid for Your Pet, people always ask me like, how do you write a book about this? Isn't it just like putting up a listing? I mean, can anybody just do that? And that's the same as kind of saying like, well, can't anybody just start a bakery? I mean, just put some dough in the oven and you have bread. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
It's just so much more than just putting up a listing and pressing the publish button, right? Because you can actually do that. Just as you can start a bakery if you really want to. The question is, are you going to be successful? And what I experienced myself throughout the hosting process was that my results just improved so much in the first year because I started learning about hospitality. And what I see from all the people in my community and all the people that I've helped over the last like 5 years is that yes, you can put an Airbnb listing up and sit back and relax, and a lot of times nothing will happen. Like, you know what I mean? Like you have to stand out from the competition, especially these days. Like maybe back in 2012, you could do that. Now you can't do that anymore. I mean, there's people know about hospitality. They know how to create good experiences now. There's a lot of education around it. And so if you want to do well as a short-term rental operator, you have to understand the whole experience, the journey, the customer journey. Like how do people find an Airbnb listing, and why do they decide to book this listing and not the other listing? What is it? What are the decision factors? And also, like, how do you create a process where it's as easy as possible for people to book? And how do you create that an experience that is better than what people are expecting so that you can get 5-star reviews? There's just so much to talk about. And I've always come from a standpoint of, how do I get the best results? How do I maximize the result of my one property that I had in Amsterdam at the time? Because the money that I was living off. That was the money that enabled me to travel the world, which I did for 8 years, which is kind of crazy. But
yeah, it's awesome, man.
But man, that's always been my focus. Like, how do you just squeeze the most out of this property? In order to do so, essentially what you have to do is you have to make it really easy for people to find you. You have to make it easy for people to book, and you have to make sure that they have an outstanding experience. And then the other part is you want to automate as much as possible, use all the technology that's available so that you don't spend a lot of time on it. And so that's, in a nutshell, I think, just really understanding that customer journey and understanding like how do you stand out from the competition. Like every other business, you have an audience, you have the people that you cater to, the type of demographics. So you need to understand like who are those people, what am I offering them, how do I give them something that's better than what they expect, and you got to figure out like how do I manage that using technology so that it doesn't eat up all my time. And because then what happens is you're just working for your business all day, which is then you might as well keep that 9-to-5 job.
Yeah, that's no fun. Creating a second job for yourself. Yeah, man. I mean, I agree with you. I think, obviously you have the business side and all of that, but the focus needs to go into the customer at the end of the day, right? It's a hospitality business. So how do we create a unforgettable experience for the guests from the moment that they find the property to the moment they book to the moment that they show up and stay to when they check out, right? It's like, what is that customer journey, to use your words, and how do we impact that? How do we create memories for our guests? But then also through that, by like, everyone's always focused on how do I make money, and they always come to me because I seem to be the business guy in the short-term rental world. They're like, all right, how do I make money in my business? How do I scale this? How do I make it more profitable? And you look at it and they forget about the customer experience. And you look at big companies and they're running to that challenge as well. It's like we have to put our experience, our focus into the hospitality, because once we create those incredible experiences from beginning touch point to the end touch point of that guest, everything else will be easier. It forces you to create your systems. It forces you to hire the best people to help you grow your business, the best cleaners, the best maintenance people, And then it also forces you to really narrow down on, taking care of your properties. And if you're managing for somebody else or you're leasing, or if you even own it, it's like we need to make sure that these properties stay in the best shape possible, right? Because once they start breaking down, then it makes everybody unhappy. So yeah, I agree. I think, outside of and I think, to clarify for everyone who's listening too, that's why you and I narrowed this down to these 3 pillars, right? It's like, all right, we had the business side and that's really freaking important, but it's not everything of this business, right? Then we have the hospitality side, and that without the business side, the hospitality won't be there. But most importantly is we have the mindset to actually build this, even if it's 1 or 2 properties or 10 or 50 or 100, it doesn't matter, right? We need all 3 of those pillars to make sure that it's a successful business. So yeah, man, I just wanted to toss those 2 cents in. I think, I drive that home all the time. Hospitality is everything. It's a hospitality business. So it's like, how do we create that experience for everybody involved, including the people that work for us, including the owners of the properties, regardless if we're leasing or managing. So I'm excited to jump into that too. That's going to be day 2 of the 3-part series.
Hey, vacation rental hosts. This is Margot, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Hostfully. We make digital guidebooks and property management software. I'm really excited to tell you about a new feature that can help you earn more from each booking. We've just launched our marketplace, which gives you the chance to earn extra cash when you provide more services to guests. Things like early check-in, late checkout, or an extra cleaning. You can even use the marketplace to sell tickets to local tours and activities. This is a feature that hosts all around the world have been asking for, and we are thrilled to deliver it. To learn more, please check us out at hostfully.com.
Awesome. So again, for people who want to sign up for this masterclass, go to strprofitacademy.com. You can sign up for free. It's going to be this is all going to be live. And nowadays you see a lot of these, so-called like live webinars, but then you're basically watching the recording. And then you can email your questions in. But this is going to be literally, me and Eric are actually both going to be in San Diego. And so we're literally going to be sitting next to each other, and you guys can ask anything you want during the masterclasses. You can ask questions. We're going to answer them live. And so this is really going to be a really, really cool and interactive and engaging experience. And it's actually the first time that you and me are doing this together in the same location. So I think it's going to be really cool.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. And, you and I have had quite a bit of interviews on this podcast, which I appreciate. It's awesome. We always get people that reach out to us saying that they heard me on previous episodes. So I appreciate the opportunity here. But then also the interviews with the summit, and I think we told everybody the first time we met was down in Puerto Rico when we actually ran the event together. So yeah, I mean, to come together and do this at my office and do a live experience for everyone who's there, I'm I'm looking forward to that, and looking forward to connecting with everybody as well. So yeah, and just to clarify for everybody, the way that we put up this website is, you'll be able to register for this event, and again, it's a free event while we're in town together. But the only way to see it is going to be live, and we're doing that on purpose, is because we want to get everybody from our communities engaged. That we want to get them jumping on here, communicating with us, asking questions, going deep. That's the whole idea behind this. So we encourage everybody to just go over there. First one kicks off on the 3rd, and once you register, all you need is your first name and an email, and we'll send you out the links and the calendar of the additional events. So but yeah, I would love for everybody to attend live and ask your questions and go into this. It's gonna be a fun couple of weeks, man, having you out here.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited. And we'll also be announcing some other greater things that me and Eric are actually working on that we'll announce in the future. But it'll involve some opportunities to work closer with me and Eric together. And that's what we're going to be announcing as well during this masterclass. So that's another reason to attend. So who would you say, Eric, is who's the perfect person to attend this webinar? Like who are those people that we're trying to help?
That's a great question. I think regardless of where people are at in the journey, attending these events and just getting involved, they're going to subtract value, right? Like this is all benefit driven for everyone who's going to be attending. And that's the way that we're approaching this. But I really feel that the people that are going to have the biggest impact are the individuals that are kind of sitting on their seats of like, hey, I want to start a short-term rental business or start making money on Airbnb, but not too sure where to start, or have been trying to start and kind of struggling with it. So those individuals, and then people that are really looking for that lifestyle change, because I think we're going to share a lot of what we built for ourselves with our businesses, and being able to go from positions that we didn't want to be in to now, really living a life by design through this industry. So I think those individuals that, want that big change, they're looking to develop a business, looking to develop, a side income, whatever that is, to essentially live a life by design in their own ways, that I think they're going to subtract a ton of information. So the individuals that are just obsessed with short-term rentals, like you and I, like people that just want to grow this business and just obsessed with the home share economy, I think they're going to be pretty inspired by what we're going to deliver. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also, especially people who are willing to take action, who are willing to, get out of their comfort zone and, do what's needed in order to grow and to make progress. And people who are kind of excited about what we are excited about is growing as a person and really willing to take action, because I think that's in the end of the day, that's what is the most important thing, right? To take action and do things. Like we talked about these mindsets, and I was actually just at an entrepreneurial event here in Barcelona, and there was a guy who created 3 unicorns. He sold 3 businesses for over $1 billion,
Wow.
which was really incredible. And so,
Wow.
when you meet people like that, I always just listen as much as I can and ask as many
Yeah.
questions as possible. And it's funny, like when you talk to these type of people, like it always comes back to those mindsets, right? It's like these people, they see failure as an opportunity to grow. They see obstacles as an opportunity to grow, right? There's this book. Maybe we should drop some book titles. That's always good. My favorites, The Obstacle is the Way, is one of my favorite books, and it talks about how an obstacle is something that you should embrace because it's going to challenge you to think outside the box and to do things that you normally wouldn't do, and as a result, you grow, right? And that's the type of things that this guy at this event was talking to me about as well. Like it just embracing failure. Just if you try something, there's 2 results. It's either the result you want or there's the learning lesson, and both are successes. So just kind of like defining success in a different way. And, these are things that I get really excited and very, very passionate about. And when I see people that are willing to take action, like I am very generous with my time and support, because I just love to see people grow. And so that's one thing that I would like to say. I am, and I know you are as well, Eric. Like we're both like very committed to helping people, but in particular to people who are willing to take action, right? Because for me, from a personal experience, like I've helped quite a lot of people actually, like with the process of leaving their corporate job and starting their own business, as I did myself. And it's kind of frustrating for me to put a lot of time into somebody who then doesn't end up taking action, because
Right.
it just kind of feels like a waste of time. So I specifically call on the people that are kind of ready to take action and to allow us to help you. Like we're here to help, and we're passionate about it. Yeah. So sign up at strprofitacademy.com. Love to see you there, and I am super excited about it. And I think we've pretty much covered everything so far. What do you think, Eric?
Yeah.
Anything else you want to share?
No, man, I think we hit the head on the nail a few times here. So it's going to be a solid series. And, we've ran a few of them separately. So coming together, I think it's going to be really freaking powerful. So yeah, I appreciate the opportunity about, being on the podcast again. And then for everyone who does show up live on October 3rd, we'll chat with you guys then. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. So thanks, Eric, for being on the show. I look forward to finally meeting you in San Diego. Of course, we hang out in Puerto Rico quite a bit, but be fun to see your home market, your Airbnbs there, and it's kind of like the lifestyle that you're living there on the beach. I'm sure it's going to be pretty fun. Maybe hopefully get to do some surfing as well. Any good waves?
Man. Oh yeah, we're gonna trust me. I got a full experience lined up for you and the team that's coming out here. So we're gonna do some surfing. We're gonna do some hiking. It's gonna be a good time.
Awesome, man. I'm so excited. Awesome. So thanks to the listeners for listening, and of course, hope to see you next week on October the 3rd in the first part of our masterclass. So thanks for listening, and until next week.
Get paid for your pad. Get paid for your pad. Get paid for your pad. Get paid for your pad.